Good morning, Trinity Baptist Church. Today, as we keep going with Luther through this letter on whether it's right for a Christian to flee from the plague, he points us toward 1 John chapter 3. This is on page 483 if you're following along in the document. And in so doing, he reframes situations like he was in, like we are in what I think is a helpful way. 1 John 3, 16, 17, and 18 say, "By this we know love, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers. But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth." And Luther says, one of the implications of this, if we're in a time of plague in his case, in a time of a pandemic in ours, is that one of the things we need to think about is risking our safety for the sake of loving our neighbor. A lot of us would say, shouldn't I be able to risk my safety in order to do this hobby or risk my safety in order to see these people? Luther says, well, the first question we should be asking is, shouldn't I be risking my safety to help my neighbor, to help somebody in need? What he says, actually, based on these verses, is he says, a man who will not help or support others unless he can do so without affecting his safety or his property will never help his neighbor. He will always reckon with the possibility that doing so will bring some disadvantage and damage, danger and loss. It's well put to say, if we're not willing to risk to help the hungry or help the people who have no homes or help the people in dire need, well, if we're not willing to risk anything, we'll probably never end up doing it. And I know some of you have thought the way he's encouraging us to think here. You're thinking, okay, I know we mostly need to stay home, but what about, gleaning? What about helping with food banks and food pantries? What about making sure that meals are being delivered to Benson Hill families? Others are saying, how can we make sure that there is blood? How can we go donate blood and these different things to go, not just when will I be able to go back to the life I want, but what risks do I need to take to continue to love my neighbor and care for my neighbor in this time? By putting it that way, I think Luther nudges us all in a good direction to say, yes, these are challenging times, but bold things, great things can be done. And really, that's what our courage and our faith in the face of this pandemic are first and foremost for. So God bless you as you try to follow 1 John 3. By this we know love, and this is a good place to start and a good place to end, that Jesus laid down his life for us. And so we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers.